today's video, we're going to be covering the pros and the cons of starting an Etsy digital download shop versus an Etsy print-on-demand shop. The reality is you can kill it in both. It's just really knowing what's right for you and having the proper expectations set when going into either or business venture. I truly believe that most people fail in business because of the mismatch of expectations versus reality and what it actually takes to not necessarily be the #1 shop on Etsy, but be a good competitive shop that is seeing the numbers and the revenue that you are happy with. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. All right, let's start with Etsy digital downloads. Now, if you don't know what either or of these business models are, don't worry, I'll explain it really fast. Being a digital download business is basically your product or your offering is what it sounds like, a digital download. A digital download is a digital asset or a file, and you're actually selling them to people. So different types of digital downloads that people sell are ebooks, games. So you actually can make like board games or bingo games. That's actually super hot right now. Website templates for Shopify or Squarespace or WooCommerce. Social media graphics or placeholders for your social media. And another really big one is spreadsheets. So making budget calculators, also making things inside of like Excel spreadsheets. So building out spreadsheets that are already pre-coded out. The formulas are already there for things like monthly budgeting, for your own personal expenses, maybe wedding expenses, maybe even like tracking your fitness goals. I've seen a whole bunch of different ideas when it comes to selling spreadsheets. Also, another really hot one right now is selling digital mock-ups. So you're not selling print on demand, but you're selling to print on demand sellers. So you're selling the blanks. So basically, if I was selling a print on demand hoodie and this was a hoodie blank that you could find on Printify or Printful or My Designs, I would go do a photo shoot of a girl, me, maybe not showing my face or maybe showing my face, basically with a blank shirt. So then I could sell that photo or that mock-up for other people to purchase and use that mock-up and give them commercial use rights to basically put their design on that hoodie that then they're gonna then sell in their POD Etsy shop, and then have a print-on-demand provider like My Designs or Printful or Printify actually fulfill the order for you. So there's actually quite a lot of ideas when it comes to selling digital downloads. So some of the pros with selling digital assets. Well, for first and foremost, you don't have much product costs unless you have labor costs because you end up hiring someone to help you develop these products. But even still, it's pretty much all profit when you make a sale because it's a digital asset. Well, let's back up. It's not all profit. You have a 6.5% selling fee and about a 3% merchant fee and listing fees. So you can cut off 10%, but you're working in a business model where 90% before maybe labor that you have later down the road when you have employees is profit, which leaves you a huge amount of space in that net profit percentage before marketing for marketing. So if you're clearing a 90% profit, then there's a lot of room to play when it comes to marketing your business because you have a lot of margin left over. There's very little customer service when it comes to selling a digital asset. It's not like you're gonna have sizing problems or quality control issues. You're gonna have very minimal customer service, which is really, really good. A lot of this is just super, super automated. So it's a very beautiful niche in that sense. Like honestly, if I didn't already have brands that sell physical goods like 3 years ago and I had all the time in the world, I personally love this digital download space. Like I feel like I could have cracked the code on it designing websites or something. But unfortunately, time is not on my side with that because I just don't have enough hours in the day. Now, some of the cons that come with digital downloads, it is a little bit of a higher barrier to entry than Etsy print on demand, I would say, because you will need to have some design skills or some already know-how with spreadsheets and selling like Excel sheets or Google Sheets or something like that. The barrier to entry is a bit higher because it is way more design heavy than print on demand, just selling shirts with, you know, like a personalized name or something where it's just picking out a font. Not that POD isn't also design heavy, it's just you can get away with a lot more simplistic designs, whereas designing a digital asset is a bit more time consuming. There's still a pro and con to that if you're up for the challenge. Another thing I guess that you could consider a con is when you look at a lot of the shops that are selling digital assets, they're very, very low ticket. So you have a lot of margin, but your sale price is really low. And I would say this is a pro and a con because I wouldn't open a digital downloads shop with only selling low ticket digital assets at say less than, $10. I would try to figure out a way to increase my average order value by bundling things together or spend more time investing in listings that I can sell at a higher price point. So things over, $20 or $30. This allows you to have more room to play with marketing, because even though you have pretty much a 90% profit margin percentage before marketing, when you sell super low ticket, it doesn't leave you a lot of room to invest in ads because your ad budget gets eaten up really fast. Now, with that even being said, even if you are selling low ticket items, that doesn't mean that ads aren't going to work for you. And this is a really common question that I get, well, I can't run ads because my sale price is so low and it just eats my whole margin basically, because if I'm only selling a $4 digital download, that equates to like 8 clicks and that eats my whole profit basically. So for this, yes and no, but there's still a way, even if you are a shop that sells low ticket, to get your ads to the max with profitability. You're probably just not analyzing them properly, or you're making higher level decisions about what's working with your ads too prematurely without checking all the other variables first. So if you are that person or you're someone that's selling low ticket, make sure you go to my full Etsy ads playlist, because the strategy that works for you selling low ticket isn't necessarily the strategy that works for me, because I'm the highest ticket price point of my niche. So it's really important to understand how to play the Etsy ad game and get your ads to the max with profitability. So yeah, just make sure you check out all those videos. It's not one size fits all, especially when it comes to Etsy ads, but the one size fit all is my belief. Every person should get their Etsy ads to the max. So $1,000 a day spending, or at least at the highest budget allowance, but with profitability. And those are the shops that are really going to be competitive and win in the long term. So I guess you can say those are kind of cons. I would, again, out of all those cons, I would pull out basically the biggest con is that the barrier to entry is a little bit higher. And if you don't have previous design skills, it might take you a lot more time in learning how to acquire those skills than say somebody else. But even still, if it's just a skill that you have to acquire, like in my mind, if the barrier to entry, or the divide between me being where I am to where I want to go is just acquiring knowledge or a skill, I don't really look at that as a knowledge, because I have a fundamental belief that I can teach myself anything, whether it had been photography, PPC, listing optimization, how to run a business. If it's just a matter of knowledge, I don't really look at that as a con, because I truly believe that I can learn anything. That doesn't mean I'm gonna be the best at anything, at everything, but it's not, I know that I'm gonna do what I have to do in order to basically get where I need to go if it's a knowledge-based thing. Now, if it's an actual capacity-based thing, like if I really truly don't have the capacity to do something, like there's a true barrier to entry, like I need some machine that's gonna cost me $100,000 before I even start. Well, maybe I don't go after that business venture because I truly just don't have $100,000 sitting around, you know what I mean? Or I'm not willing to take out a loan to basically, go into debt for a business model when there may be a better opportunity that fits my lifestyle better. We're weighing all of those things. So for you, if you look at the marketplace when it comes to digital downloads and you're like, well, I know I can learn it, but I know I'm gonna hate my life because I'm just really not design heavy, then you may want to consider not going after that model, because the barrier to entry there is that you really aren't going to enjoy what you're doing, because getting into learning spreadsheets or really getting into learning all these micro niches where you can produce digital assets for, you really have no, willingness to want to do that, because it's just not something that interests you. Now, on the print on demand side, now, if you don't know what print on demand is, print on demand, we kind of talked about it before. It's when you use a company like My Designs, Printful, Printify, use one of these print providers, you connect it to your Etsy shop, and then basically you create designs for blanks. Blanks could be shirts, onesies, sweaters, crew necks, mugs, puzzles. There's all these different things that you can print your design on. And basically each one of these platforms has a catalog where when you integrate your Printify or your My Designs account with Etsy, you can build out listings and push your listings to Etsy. And when you get a sale for a sweater that has your design on it, those print providers or those companies are gonna fulfill the order for you. So your customer's actually getting a physical good, but you never touch the product. By the way, guys, one of the biggest pain points I think with print on demand sellers is, especially when it comes to ads, is because they're not getting a clear real-time valuation of their real-time profit. And so that's why I'm actually launching a tool called Profit Tree. And it's not only gonna work for print-on-demand sellers and integrate with your Printify and your Printful account, but it's also gonna work for people that are selling digital downloads as well, or physical products. So for the first time ever, you're gonna be able to track your real-time profit on Etsy. This is actually our logo. And we're launching in March. I've been working on this tool for literally over a year. I have already failed twice. This is my third time I have built it. And now we're officially launching, hopefully in March. And I haven't really shared it a lot. I don't really even promote anything on my channel except for, you know, software that I actually do use. But I'm really excited because this has been my baby and a roller coaster, and it's hopefully going to really help you guys out. Tracking real-time profit was one of the biggest pain points for my own business. And yeah, it just gives you real-time valuation of what your profit is. And knowing this profit also allows you to tweak the dials on your ads a lot better, because then you actually understand what is left over when it comes to your marketing. So if you guys want to get on the wait list for that, make sure you click the link down below and you'll get your first month free. Now, some pros with selling in the print-on-demand space is that your output can be a lot faster. So the nature of selling digital assets or even print-on-demand is having a lot of good quality listings. I would say print-on-demand even more so than digital downloads, but in the print-on-demand space, especially, one of the core attributes that help a POD store do really well is by having a lot of listings that expand across a bunch of different niches that help your searchability. Now, a bunch of different niches, but still maintaining a cohesive brand vibe. So even though you might sell some onesies, but then, you know, shirts for your dad, even though those are two different customer avatars, the overall brand vibe is cohesive, which is something that you're gonna wanna make sure that your shop has a good, cohesive, recognizable brand vibe when you launch in 2024. The point here is that yes, you can have a lot more output a lot faster. So you can have a lot more listings being launched in a shorter amount of time, because the design heaviness of it all isn't as heavy as or as complex as digital downloads. Another big pro here is that there is a much broader range of search. So the niche or the potential to reach customers is definitely a lot broader, because there's just endless amount of ideas and product ideas for shirts, mugs, hats. This is actually an embroidered hat that I got off a Printify account. There's so much market out there, and what I truly believe still a lot of untouched micro niches even. And finally, as we mentioned, just less design heavy, which I think we already covered that one. Now onto the cons. A con with the POD space is that your net profit percentage before marketing is pretty low. So before ads, your net profit is only around, what I've seen at best, 30 to 35%. And that's in with a really good dialed in pricing strategy. And I have a lot of other trainings on this and how to be competitive with the Etsy print-on-demand space that you can cue next, because this is really key that you have your pricing completely dialed in, because if you run a sale one day or something like that, or you don't have your items priced really right in comparison to your expenses, you can completely kill your profit really fast. Now, even in these low margin spaces, it is in your best interest to have your Etsy ads on. And so what happens is when you start turning on your Etsy ads for the first time, when you're already working in such a low margin niche, it's even more important for you to learn how to tweak the dials on your Etsy ads to really get your Etsy ad cost percentage less than like 10%. So you're still making around a 15 to 20% profit margin percentage, which in my mind is still really good profit margin after ads, because you never touch the product. For me, we have a really lengthy process for making our goods. So if we don't make more than a 20% net profit percentage after marketing costs, it's not really worth our time value, because it's just, there's so much work that we have to do for the output of our products. Where if you're in the POD space and you never touch the product, 15 to 20%, or even I would argue like 13 to 18% net profit percentage after marketing is a really good business model, especially because the potential to make a lot of money is there without having to have a huge operation with employees and machinery and all that stuff. Like, me. Another con you could say is that there is gonna be more customer service because you are gonna be dealing with people buying things that have sizes. So you might see sizing issues because you're shipping out something. You're gonna see more shipping complaints with the mail. My item was lost, I didn't get my package, it says delivered, but it wasn't delivered. All the things that I also deal with. But that also just comes with the game of e-commerce. So it's not the worst thing in the world. After you answer thousands of your own customer service messages, really just becomes standard operating procedures and pretty easy to navigate and deal with over time. And what I've seen, most of the top POD shops don't offer returns, since a lot of the nature of POD is customized and they're offering personalization, that yeah, you don't even offer refunds unless someone's like, or you don't even offer returns. Maybe you'll offer a refund if someone's really, really upset, just so you don't get a bad review. But for the most part, customer service isn't super hard. Another con that I've seen only recently is that Etsy's been a little bit weird about print-on-demand shops, where initially when you open your account, we're seeing that the accounts are immediately getting banned, and people are having to go through this process of unbanning their account for whatever reason. I think it's just because Etsy's trying to protect themselves from people like just straight drop shipping stuff from China. And even though you're not doing that and you're actually adding personalization or your own designs, sometimes I think their AI isn't being able to like figure out what shops are which. And all you really have to do there, it's just kind of annoying, is like you have to continue to fight it and try to keep appealing it to get your account back. I've seen that recently, but also that could be a pro, because if a lot of people are getting scared away because of this, that means less people will get in and there's bigger opportunity for you to prevail and keep going through the motions of trying to get your account back. At the end of the day, what you decide to do is based off what is best for you and what you have the capacity and the willingness to sacrifice in order to make it happen for your store, and which one aligns with you, for the long term. And I think a really good indicator on which one is the best for you is when you're doing your competitor analysis, or you're looking at, the youngest shops that are pushing the most sales volume in the shortest amount of time, which is something I recommend you do. And you can do that easily in eRank. Just go to eRank, sort it by shops that opened in 2023, and then sort it by the most sales, and look at the top performing POD shops, look at the top performing digital download shops. When you look at those top shops that are really young, that are pushing the most sales volume, a really, key thing for me at least, that is a big green light, is when you're analyzing your competition, you kind of get entrepreneurial feeling that looks at somebody else's shop and says, oh, I could definitely do this way better. And even if you know that right now you don't have the skill set to do it, if it's not scaring you and it actually excites you because you're like, wait, I'm gonna figure out how to do this better. I don't know, I've always gotten like kind of like a gut feeling, and that's kind of like a clear sign of like what is good for you or what's not good for you, in a weird way, if that makes sense. Even if you've never done design in your life and you go to a digital downloads shop and you see the complexity of the top people that you're gonna be competing against, and that you get like a gut feeling that's like exciting, that's like, ooh, I'm gonna figure this out. I know I can do it better than them. That's a good indicator that maybe that model might be right for you, or vice versa. Or maybe you don't get that gut feeling on either of them, and we have to have another different conversation with ourselves that maybe neither of these are the right business venture for me and I need to explore more options. It's all of those things, all of those things. But at the end of the day, I think the hardest thing, at least for me, was like having a real conversation, like, what is actually gonna serve me? Can I actually see myself being in this for the next 5 years? Not just something that I'm gonna try out for 6 months and make a couple $1,000s. That mentality it's going to set you up for wasting time and money. You really have to have that conversation. Am I going to want to do this 5 years from now? We have to dip our toes in the sand a little bit to figure out that we don't want something or we do want something. And not to mention, if you do go in one direction or the other direction and you realize, this really is not for me, that's not even a negative thing, because that's Xing something off of all of your infinite potential of opportunity and saying, okay, well, we're not gonna do that. What's the next thing I can try? It's not even wasting time or energy, because you're gonna learn something either way. And it's going to then remove that from your table of opportunity and maybe push you towards the next right thing. And that was a really big thing for me. When I first started in entrepreneurship, before people were even doing print on demand, before that was even a thing, and digital downloads, what was that? We didn't even know what that was back then. I tried so many different types of businesses, but it led me to this e-commerce realm, after I did digital marketing agency and running ads for other people's companies, after I did try drop shipping for a second, after I tried to do high ticket sales for another company, I tried all these things that didn't work out. And all the while I acquired all of these new skills that served me in something completely different, that was e-commerce. So there's really no wrong answer, and whatever the outcome is, just know that it's either hit on the nail and you got it on the first thing and you're in the right direction, or if it doesn't work out, that's okay too. We just learned a bunch of new skills, but now it's pushing me towards the next best thing that I'm gonna try for myself. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. Don't get hard on yourself. Like, you already have so much learning to do as is. You don't need to be, your own biggest bully as well, because I definitely did that to myself. So that's why I'm sharing it. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye, y'all.